Hey everyone, in this guide I'm going to be going over texture replacement because this is something that I've been experimenting with myself recently. A big disclaimer before we start this though, I'm not a digital artist. I have experience in Unreal and I can tell you how to import your textures into the Deadside Modkit, but how you create your textures is up to you. I'm going to be using Photoshop because, like I said, I'm not a digital artist. There are much better programs out there, but still I hope this guide will be valuable for people who want to import their own custom textures into Deadside. So I think for this example, let's just edit the assault armor because I think this is a good template to start from. Now before we get started, let's cover some of the limitations we have to work with here. So let me open the blueprint for the assault vest. Opening up the static data and the skins, you can see that there's 11 total array elements. These are all the available skins that are in the game. In this guide, we're only going to be replacing an existing skin. You can make new skins with a new version of the armor, and we'll cover that later in this video, but that's primarily for things like admin-only armor, because those will disappear once you relog, because of the method we're going to use there. Anyways, getting ahead of myself. Let's open up some of these skins. Let's open up skin number 10. We can see these are the material instances for this DLC skin. For this example, though, let's find the green skin and replace that one. Here we go, is skin number 2. So we want to make our own custom version of this skin. So I'm going to navigate to this material instance, right click on it, I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to rename it, let's say, EMR, because that's the camo I'm going to be using today. Then I'm going to drag our new version of this material instance into our mod pack. So here's our mod folder. And here's our new material instance. I'm going to open that up. Now what determines how the material instance looks is this diffusion map right here. This is what we're going to be editing in Photoshop today. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there's much better ways to edit these. I've spent most of my time in Unreal doing blueprint stuff. I'm not very experienced here. I'm sure there's better ways, and the artists out there will know how to do it. There are other simple programs you can use too that aren't Photoshop that are free, by the way, in case you don't have that program. Anyways, we're going to navigate to this TGA right here. I'm going to right click it, go to Asset Actions, and Export. Alright, so let's navigate over to Photoshop. So here I have the TGA open in Photoshop, and you're going to notice that this doesn't really look like anything, right? This is a 2D texture that's going to be bent and wrapped around a 3D model. But that's fine, because what I'm going to do today is just apply a flat camouflage pattern to this entire texture. So to start, I'm going to make this an actual layer, not a background. And now I'm going to import the camo. So here I have my camouflage. It's much lower resolution than what I would probably actually use for a mod. So this isn't going to look great, most likely. Again, this is just an example. Okay, so now I have my camouflage layer, and I have the TGA that we're going to edit. And I'm just going to simply make the opacity a bit lower. Let's say 40%. On this layer, I'm going to make a few adjustments. I'm going to desaturate the image. That way the color from the camouflage goes through. Okay, after making some adjustments, I honestly have no idea how this is going to look. This is just an example. I've made better skins that I can show you guys, but now I'm going to export this as a copy. So now I've imported my new texture into my mod folder. Now I'm going to open up this custom material instance and set it to our new modded texture. Just like that. This is where we're going to be doing a little bit of blueprint programming to get our material instance onto our assault armor in-game, but it's going to be really easy because all we have to do is go over to the example mod that's included in the mod kit, open up that mod registry. There's a lot here, but you want to come over to change wearable skin, and all you have to do is copy these nodes and paste them into your mod registry in your mod, just like that. Now we need an event trigger to make this program work, so you're going to right click, type in event, init, and select event init mod. This is just an event trigger that happens whenever the mod is loaded on your client or server. Connect it to these nodes. So there's a little bit going on here, and I promise it's really not all that complicated. This node gets the skins of the class that you're going to edit the skins of, right? So I'm just going to type assault vest and set it as that. Now, if you remember, we're editing the skin number 2, so we're going to get 2 because that's the skin we want to edit. Here we have set array element. This is where we're going to select our modded material instance. Just like that. And then for set skin, you're going to again select the class that you're editing here. So assault vest. And we're done. Compile and save. And just to cover again, in the class, you're going to select the class of the item you want to mod. Here an item is your modded material instance, and over here in get is the specific skin that you're going to be replacing. Some things in Deadside, like weapons in particular, have multiple material instances per class, and that's what this index is here. So let's say there's 4 material indexes on the AR4, which I think that's the right amount. One is going to be the receiver, then the handguard, and the stock, and I believe the barrel. And this is where you select which specific material instance you're replacing in that class. So let's test this out in game. Going to make sure that our mod is enabled here, which it is. And I'm going to play in the editor. So here it is in game. It doesn't really look that great because the resolution is kind of low on the camouflage pattern that I selected, but you can see how this would be fairly effective if all you wanted to do is replace an entire flat texture. You can also easily make color changes to existing TGAs, which is what I've done over here with this white armor. I also put my logo on it for fun. And I've been experimenting with some weapon skins as well, as you can see here. This is kind of broken currently, but we have this tan AR4, which looks okay. I'm not completely happy with it. Now, going back to our custom modded material instance, there's actually a lot we can change over here in the details tab. For example, if I check metallic, we can make this texture appear to be metallic, especially if I set it to 1. There's also specular and roughness. There's a lot you can do here. And as you can see now, our material looks a bit more metallic. It's hard to tell on something like an assault vest, but you can definitely see that it has more reflections. It's more obvious on custom golden textures like this one. So you can make completely new looking models and textures without replacing existing skins. However, the game doesn't register them because it isn't in the array of skins that the game recognizes. So this means, let's say you want to make an admin set like I have here, but of course you don't want to replace an existing skin because you don't want all your players to have armor that says admin on it, right? So what I've done is I've created an actual duplicate blueprint for the assault helmet here. But what this means is that if you ever log out or if a server restart happens, this custom admin helmet is going to revert to the normal assault helmet because the game doesn't recognize this new weird blueprint. So what I've done, at least in this case, is I've actually duplicated an entire trader, made a custom trader list, you can see a guide for that in a different video, and then placed an invisible trader under the map that only admins can access. And I'll show you what this looks like while playing an editor. So here you have the normal roaming trader, right? Everything looks normal here. But then you go over to this admin trader, open the list, and it's only custom items that I've added. Let's grab this gold vest, for example. Glorious, huh? So I hope you guys found this guide useful. I'm not very experienced on the art and texturing side of this, unfortunately. I'm only able to do some basic stuff like you're seeing on screen here, but I hope the most useful part is the actual blueprints, because even experienced digital artists might not know how to use these at first glance. I'm going to continue to experiment with all this, so hopefully I have a more advanced guide for everything in the future, maybe using some better programs. But until then, I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.